What if the most valuable thing your family owned wasn't the land you could see, but the secret buried under it? Valuable enough that strangers would set your father's farm on fire, kidnap your mother, and threaten to wipe out an entire village, just to force you to dig it up for them. When Kweku Asamoah jumped off that pickup truck and ran toward the flames, he thought he was just saving goats, workers, a burning barn. He did not know there was a dead man waiting for him inside the smoke. A stranger with a bloody knife. A stranger who knew his name. Within hours, Kweku discovers 3 things that shatter his world. His father did not die of a fever. His family farm is sitting on an underground vein older than the village, older than the tribe, older than any map. And powerful men, armed, organized, and ruthless, believe he is the only one who can lead them to it. They burn his barn as a distraction. They dig in the dark while the village sleeps. They send a message of 3 words wrapped around stone. Leave or die. But when they kidnap his mother and demand a trade, the vein or her life, Kweku makes a different choice. Instead of running, he follows his father's journal under the roots of an ancient baobab tree, into a hidden world of glowing metal, warrior graves, and a secret so dangerous that history itself was buried to protect it. This is the story of a night a billionaire's son stopped being a runaway and became the last line of defense between a sacred land and the people willing to kill the past to sell the future. If you want to see how far he'll go to protect his father's legacy in this buried vein, make sure you hit subscribe, like this video, and drop a comment saying where you're watching from. Because the deeper this story goes, the darker the truth becomes. Dust exploded beneath Kweku Asamoah's shoes as he leapt off the moving pickup, hitting the ground with a hard thud he barely felt. The driver shouted for him to wait, but he was already sprinting toward the flames. Smoke curled into the sunset like a warning. Half the barn was on fire. Workers were screaming. Goats were breaking loose from their pens and scattering across the field. Someone cried out for water. Someone else yelled that the fire was spreading to the storeroom. Kweku didn't think. He reacted. He grabbed a bucket from the ground, tossed aside the cracked handle, filled it with water from the trough, and ran straight toward the burning door. Heat slapped him in the face, stealing his breath. Sparks flew like angry bees. One worker grabbed his arm and shouted, "Sir, you can't go inside." But he ripped free. "Moo!" A wall beam cracked overhead. The sound echoed through the night like a gunshot. Flames rolled across the ceiling. A coughing boy stumbled out with ash all over his face. Kweku pushed him towards safety and plunged deeper into the smoke. His heartbeat hammered in his ears. He heard a goat bleeding in panic. He followed the sound and kicked open a wooden barrier. 2 trapped goats bolted past him, nearly knocking him down. The smoke thickened. His lungs screamed. He turned to leave, then froze. There was someone else inside. He could see the outline through the smoke. A man, crouched low, motionless. "Hey!" Kweku shouted. No response. He rushed forward, grabbed the man's arm, and recoiled. The arm was limp, cold. The man slumped sideways, revealing his face lit by the flickering flames. It was not a worker. It was an outsider, one he'd never seen before. The stranger's hand loosened around something, a small knife. The tip was stained with something dark. Kweku's stomach tightened. This wasn't an accident. The roof crackled again. A burning beam snapped loose, falling toward him. He grabbed the unconscious man by the collar and dragged him out. Workers screamed when they saw the stranger. The village chief, Kwakamintsa, rushed forward, his face twisted. "Who is that man?" "I don't know," Kweku coughed. "He was inside." "Inside." The chief's eyes narrowed like a blade. Then he said it. More villagers gathered around, angry and scared. Murmurs turned into arguments. Someone tried to pull the stranger away, but Kweku blocked them. "Not like this," he said. "He needs to be questioned." Before anyone could respond, the burning barn groaned, shuddered, and collapsed into itself. A wave of heat washed over them. The workers stepped back, some crying, some gasping. The chief faced Kweku. "You see now? This is why your mother begged you to return." Kweku's jaw tightened. "This is not sabotage. This is someone sending a message." "And you," the chief added sharply, are the one they want to receive it. Kweku looked back at the burning wreckage, smoke stinging his eyes. He'd only been on the farm for 2 hours, and already someone had tried to destroy it. This wasn't a warning. It was a declaration of war. The villagers dispersed to control the remaining fire, and the driver returned with rope to tie the unconscious stranger. As they dragged him aside, Kweku's mother, Mama Adwoa, appeared from the shadows of the farmhouse. Her wrapper was tied hastily, hair undone, eyes red, not from smoke but from worry. "You should not have run into that fire," she said, her voice trembling. "You should have told me someone was trying to kill us," he replied. She looked away. "There are things you would not have believed unless you saw them yourself." He had no answer. She walked closer and touched his cheek the way she used to when he was a boy. "You came home because you were forced. But you staying here, that must be your decision." He glanced at the burning ruins. "Someone thinks I'm a threat." "No," she corrected quietly. "Someone thinks your father left behind something only you can find." Kweku stiffened. "You're saying the sabotage is connected to Dad?" Her eyes clouded. "I'm saying your father didn't die of a fever like the doctors claimed." Kweku's breath stopped. "Mom, what are you trying to say?" But she didn't answer. She simply turned toward the farmhouse. Inside, "There are things you must see." He followed her silently, his heart pounding, not from the fire anymore, but from fear of what he was about to uncover. Inside the house, the scent of smoke drifted through the open windows. Mama Adwoa sat on a wooden stool and placed a leather-bound journal on the table. "This was your father's," she said. Kweku opened it. At first glance, it looked like a regular farm ledger. Numbers, crop rotations, expenses. But then he turned to the back pages. Symbols, strange markings, sketched maps, a drawing of the family farm overlaid with arrows and coded coordinates, and a phrase repeated several times. "The vein is deeper than the soil." "What does this mean?" he asked. "I don't know," she whispered. "But he guarded it with his life." Kweku stared at the pages. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" "You left, Kweku," she said softly. "And your father feared your success, made you a target. If anyone knew he was hiding something, they would come for you too." The words cut deeper than she expected. He rubbed his forehead, overwhelmed. So the farm wasn't just land to him. It was hiding something. "Yes," she replied. "And your father believed the land chose you, not him." A knock on the door made them both jump. The village chief stepped in. "The stranger is awake." Kweku walked outside. The man was tied to a post, head lowered, breathing heavily. A bruise darkened his temple where something had knocked him out earlier, maybe falling debris, maybe a villager. The chief motioned for everyone to stand back. The stranger raised his head slowly. His eyes were sharp, cold, calculated. "You," he said, staring directly at Kweku. "You were not supposed to return." Kweku crouched. "Who sent you?" The man smirked. "The same people who sent the others." "What others?" No answer. Kweku tightened his jaw. "What are you looking for on this land?" Again, silence. The chief stepped forward to slap him, but Kweku raised a hand. "Stop. He wants us angry. He wants chaos." The man laughed. "Chaos is already here. Why burn the barn?" Kweku asked. "That wasn't the target." The stranger leaned closer, his voice dropping. "You were." Kweku felt the words like a punch. "Why me?" "Because someone believes you know where the vein is." Kweku froze. The stranger smiled with satisfaction. You don't know." "Interesting." The chief grabbed the man's collar. "Tell us who sent you." "I'd rather die." And before anyone could stop him, the man jerked forward and slammed his own head into the wooden post with brutal force. He collapsed instantly, blood dripping from his forehead. Kweku shouted for help. The villagers rushed forward. The chief cursed. The stranger lay unconscious again, pulse weak. The chief glared at Kweku. "Your presence puts all of us at risk." "I didn't choose this," Kweku snapped. "You were chosen," the chief said. "And whoever wants this land, whoever hunts this vein, they are not finished." Kweku carried the journal back into the house. He knew sleep would not come tonight. He paced the living room until his mother joined him with a cup of tea she knew he wouldn't drink. "You want to run?" she said. "Yes," he admitted. "But you won't." She studied him. "Because you are your father's son. He exhaled shakily. "Mom, what was Dad looking for?" "We never knew," she replied. But he believed something ancient was beneath this land. Something powerful. Something dangerous in the wrong hands. He closed his eyes. What if I can't find it? Then the people trying to kill us will. Outside, the fire had died down, but the night buzzed with fear. Kweku walked outside alone, needing air. The sky was clear, but the world felt heavy. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every rustle made his heart jump. He stood at the edge of the field. The wind whispered through the dry grass. And for the first time since he arrived, he felt something strange, an instinct, a pull, almost like the land itself was calling him. His father had died protecting something. Now the same people were coming for him. He whispered to the darkness, "What did you find, Dad?" A hand touched his shoulder. He turned sharply. It was Alma, one of the senior farm workers. "Sir, I didn't want to speak earlier," she whispered. "But your father once said the vein was not gold, not diamonds, not oil." Kweku swallowed. "Then what?" "He said it was older." "Older than what?" Alma looked into the night, fear widening her eyes. "Older than the village. Older than the tribe. Older than the colonizers. Older than any map." His veins went cold. "Who else knows this?" "Only the elders," Alma said, voice trembling. "And the people trying to kill you." Before he could reply, a stone slammed into the ground beside them, thrown from the darkness. Alma screamed and hid behind him. Kweku lifted the stone. It had a note wrapped around it. He opened it. 3 words, written in red ink, underlined twice. "Leave or die." Kweku clenched the paper. "I'm not leaving. Amashuk hadhit. Then more blood will fall." "No," he said quietly. "Not this time." He walked back inside, locked the doors, and sat with his father's journal on the table. He flipped through the coded pages again. A phrase on the final page caught his eye. "The garden is beneath us." He read it again. "The garden is beneath us." A garden underground? What did that even mean? As he leaned closer, the lamp flickered, and a shadow moved outside the window. He stood quickly, heart racing. He grabbed the nearest object, a metal shovel, and approached the window. Nothing, just darkness. But he felt eyes watching him. He whispered, "I'm not afraid of you." A voice outside answered in the wind. "You should be." And then everything went silent. Kweku didn't sleep. He paced the living room until dawn blurred the edges of the horizon. Every noise outside made him stiffen, expecting another attack. As the first light washed over the farm, workers began sweeping the burnt barn area, whispering among themselves. Some looked at him with hope, others with fear. All of them knew now that someone wanted their land destroyed. "Nobody's working the fields today," the chief announced loudly, approaching the house. "Everyone will stay close. We don't know what else they planned." Kweku stepped outside. "You think they'll strike again?" "I don't think," the chief said grimly. "I know." A scream tore through the morning. Everyone turned. A girl ran from the far side of the farm, tears streaming down her face. "It's under the soil," she cried. "It's glowing." Workers dropped their tools. The chief and Kweku ran toward her. She led them to the far edge of the land, near a large baobab tree whose roots twisted above ground. The soil around it had been freshly dug. Someone had been here during the night. He walked back inside, locked the doors, and sat with his father's journal on the table. He flipped through the coded pages again. A phrase on the final page caught his eye. "The garden is beneath us." He read it again. "The garden is beneath us." A garden underground? What did that even mean? As he leaned closer, the lamp flickered, and a shadow moved outside the window. He stood quickly, heart racing. He grabbed the nearest object, a metal shovel, and approached the window. Nothing, just darkness. But he felt eyes watching him. He whispered, "I'm not afraid of you." A voice outside answered in the wind. "You should be." And then everything went silent. Kweku didn't sleep. He paced the living room until dawn blurred the edges of the horizon. Every noise outside made him stiffen, expecting another attack. As the first light washed over the farm, workers began sweeping the burnt barn area, whispering among themselves. Some looked at him with hope, others with fear. All of them knew now that someone wanted their land destroyed. Nobody's working the fields today, the chief announced loudly, approaching the house. Everyone will stay close. We don't know what else they planned. Kweku stepped outside. You think they'll strike again? I don't think, the chief said grimly. I know. A scream tore through the morning. Everyone turned. A girl ran from the far side of the farm, tears streaming down her face. It's under the soil, she cried. It's glowing. Workers dropped their tools. The chief and Kweku ran toward her. She led them to the far edge of the land, near a large baobab tree whose roots twisted above ground. The soil around it had been freshly dug. Someone had been here during the night. The girl pointed with shaking hands. There, look. Kweku knelt and brushed away loose dirt. His fingers touched something smooth. Metal, but not like ordinary metal. It was warm, slightly luminous, faintly humming like a living thing. What is this? He whispered. The chief stepped back. That is not from any mine in this region. A worker crossed himself. The ancestors warned us. Kweku lifted the object, a thin, metallic shard almost like a blade fragment, but with markings carved across it. The symbols matched the ones in his father's journal. His pulse quickened. This wasn't random sabotage. Someone was digging for whatever this belonged to. He stood immediately. We need to search the entire perimeter. There might be more. The chief frowned. You think your father hid metal? No, Kweku said. I think he found something hidden long before any of us existed. They searched for 2 hours. They found footprints, broken twigs, trampled grass. Someone had been moving through the land freely for months. Then they reached the western side of the farm and stopped. The soil was torn open like a wound. A hole, wide and deep, had been dug recently. Inside was a wooden beam from the barn, meaning the saboteur had used the fire as distraction while digging here. Kweku jumped into the hole, gripping the edge from sliding. Something metallic glinted in the dirt. Another shard, this one larger, curved, with a groove running along its length. He pulled it out and gasped. It wasn't a shard. It was part of a tool. Something ancient. Something forged. The chief's voice trembled. This land is cursed. No, Kweku said softly. It's valuable. He climbed out of the hole. Someone is already digging deeper. They know exactly what they're looking for. The chief shook his head. If outsiders want what is beneath us, blood will spill. You need to protect this farm. Kweku looked at the metallic fragments in his hand. I intend to. A voice behind them interrupted. Then you'll need help. Everyone turned. A woman stepped forward from the path. Tall, poised, wearing jeans and a crisp white shirt dusted with sand. Her eyes sharp, her posture unmistakably confident. Who are you? The chief asked. My name is Yakruma, she said. She reached in her bag and held up an ID card. Archaeologist, University of Ghana. Kweku raised an eyebrow. Why are you here? She glanced at the metal fragments. Because of that, the workers murmured, suspicious. Ya walked closer, unfazed by the tension. 3 months ago, our research team intercepted satellite readings of metallic anomalies in this area. We traced the activity to your land. She pointed to the glowing shard. That is not natural. It is crafted metal older than written history. Kweku's throat tightened. You know what this is? I have theories, she said. But before I confirm anything, I need to know how much danger you are in. The chief gestured to the burnt barn. Enough. Yas studied the scarred earth. They set the fire to distract you. Meanwhile, their team was digging over there. She pointed to the deep hole. They know exactly where to look. Kweku stepped forward. Who are they? Ya hesitated. Foreign private collectors, possibly working with local politicians. People who trade ancient artifacts on the black market. If they want something, they take it. And you, the chief asked, why should we trust you? She met his stare steadily. Because unlike them, I am willing to die for knowledge, not money. Silence fell. Kweku nodded slowly. Then tell me what you know. You motioned for him to follow her toward the baobab tree. When they reached it, she knelt and touched the soil reverently. This land sits on what we call the lost metallurgy belt, she said. Centuries before colonizers arrived, some West African tribes mastered metalwork beyond what we previously believed possible. Kweku blinked. You're saying ancient Africans made something like this? Yes, she said. And not just tools. They created alloys we still can't replicate. Kweku frowned at the glowing shard. So, this isn't from a meteor or something? No, this is man-made, and extremely rare. The chief swallowed. My ancestors protected this land for generations. Stood, which is why others want to steal what lies beneath. Kweku felt his chest tighten. My father found this. Didn't he? Ya nodded slowly. And he likely died because of it. The chief exhaled sharply, stepping aside as if the truth was too heavy. Kweku felt a sting deep in his chest. Not anger, but grief rising like a tide. So everything that's happened, every threat, every fire, was to uncover this hidden vein. Ya shook her head. The vein isn't ore. It's a burial route. Kweku froze. A what? Your farm sits over an ancient underground network, Ya explained. A burial corridor. Warriors were buried with their weapons. Metals crafted using techniques lost to time. If someone found an intact section of it, they could make billions selling artifacts. Kweku stared at her. So my father wasn't hiding treasure. He was protecting graves. Technically, yes, she said, but the weapons are more valuable than gold. The chief glared at the horizon. Then the dead are not the only ones being disturbed. Kweku rubbed his forehead. I returned here thinking I was fixing a farm. Instead, I've walked into a tomb. Ya placed a hand on the baobab's trunk. Not a tomb, a secret, and secrets attract danger. As they walked back toward the farmhouse, a motorcycle engine roared from the distance. Everyone turned sharply. A lone rider approached, stopping a few meters away. The helmeted man didn't remove his mask. He tossed an envelope on the ground, revved the engine, and sped away. Kweku picked it up. Inside was a photograph. His mother, tied to a chair, a gag in her mouth, tears streaming down her face, and scrawled across the image in black ink. The vein or her life. Kweku felt the world tilt. His breath caught. His fingers trembled around the picture. He spun toward the farmhouse. His mother had disappeared only moments ago. The chief shouted, "Search everywhere." Workers ran in different directions, calling her name. The chief yelled into the fields. Yeah, and Amma checked the back of the house, the kitchen, the yard. Nothing. She was gone. Kweku's mind screamed. Rage surged so violently he tasted metal in his mouth. He grabbed the shovel from earlier and marched toward the gate. The chief shouted after him. "Where are you going?" "To get my mother," he said through clenched teeth. "And walk into a trap?" "Yes." Yeah, caught his arm. "Wait. That photo was meant to provoke you. They want you hysterical. That's how people die." He jerked his arm away. "What do you expect me to do? Sit here and wait?" "No," she said firmly. "I expect you to think." Her voice cut through his panic. Ya lowered her voice. "Look at the background of the photo." He studied it again. Behind his mother was a stone wall, a wooden window frame, something like woven mats. Ya pointed. "That window style, that's not from this village. It's from Old Bono, 3 miles north." Kweku's heartbeat quickened. "Then they're holding her there." "Maybe," Ya said, "but these people are organized. They know you'll come." "I don't care." "You should," she snapped. "Because if you rush in alone, you die, and then your mother dies, and your father's legacy is lost forever." The chief stepped forward, heavy determination in his steps. "We go together. No one kidnaps a mother of this village." Amma echoed. "We will not abandon her." Kweku softened. He'd forgotten how loyal these people were, how loyal his father had raised them to be. "Fine," he whispered. "We go together." Ya quickly formed a plan. "We split into 2 groups. One distracts them. The other rescues your mother. And Kweku," she held his gaze, "you stay behind us. You are the target." He wanted to protest, but she was right. They armed themselves with what they had: machetes, sticks, iron rods. No guns. The enemy would most likely have firearms. The walk to Old Bono was tense. The air was thick with danger. Every crack in the brush made someone flinch. Ya kept scanning the ground, analyzing tracks. She moved with precision, like someone accustomed to danger. When they reached the abandoned village, silence wrapped the place like a shroud. Houses crumbled into dust. "Dahung vu." The wind whispered through empty frames. Ya raised a hand, signaling everyone to stop. Tracks, she whispered. Fresh ones. 3 people carried someone heavy. They went inside that hut. Kweku stepped forward, but the chief blocked him. Stay behind. Kweku clenched his fists. He could hear his mother's muffled cry in his imagination. He hated feeling useless, but he forced himself to obey. Amma and 2 workers approached the hut quietly. The wooden door was closed, but faint voices emerged from within. Inside, a man barked. If he doesn't come soon, we end it. Kweku's blood ran cold. Yin nodded at the chief. 3, 2, 1. They burst into the hut. Shouts erupted. A struggle. A gunshot echoed, and dust rained from the roof. Another shout. Another gunshot. Kweku couldn't stay outside. He rushed in. His mother was tied to a chair. Terrified, a man held a gun to her head, but 2 villagers had tackled him to the ground. Another attacker swung at Ya with a machete. She dodged and cracked a wooden plank across his face. Kweku grabbed the man holding the gun and punched him so hard the weapon flew across the room. The man fell limp. He untied his mother, shaking. Mom, are you hurt? She sobbed into his chest. I told you should not have returned. No, he whispered. I should never have left. The chief shouted, Move. A bullet tore through the hut wall, grazing a worker's shoulder. A second attacker was outside, firing blindly. Ya grabbed Kweku's arm. We need to leave now. They bolted out the back as gunshots echoed behind them. They ran into the brush, breath ragged, hearts pounding. When they finally reached safe ground, the chief signaled everyone to stop. Yap bent over, catching her breath. This is bigger than we thought. Kweku held his mother close. We take her home. Then we end this. Ya looked at him. You want to end it? Yes. Then we go deeper. He frowned. Deeper where? Her eyes hardened. Under the farm. Kweku didn't wait for the others to catch their breath. As soon as his mother was stable and safely placed in the chief's care, he turned to Ya, heart still racing from the gunfire, from the fear he had masked with adrenaline. You said we go deeper, he said. Tell me what that means. Ya dusted dirt from her shirt, her breathing steady but tense. Your father was mapping something underground, something he never shared with anyone, not even your mother. And these attackers, everything they've done shows they know what lies beneath your land. You're sure? He asked. Positive, she said. And if they're willing to kidnap and kill, they're close to finding it. Kweku clenched his fists. Then we get there first. The chief approached, worry etched into his face. Boy, this path you want to follow, it is dangerous. Kweku met his gaze. Leaving it hidden is more dangerous. His mother called out weakly, Kweku, please don't follow your father into the dark. He held her hand gently. I'm not following Dad. His voice hardened. I'm finishing what he died for. Night fell as they returned to the farm. The workers were afraid, some trembling, others whispering prayers. The smell of the burnt barn still lingered. The stranger who had smashed his head earlier was gone. Someone had taken him. Yeah, crouched near the baobab tree again. This tree isn't here by accident, she said. Ancient societies marked gateways with baobabs. Gateways to what? The chief asked. Burial corridors. Underground passages. Tomb networks. She turned to Kweku. Your father found the entrance. He hid it. That's why he wrote, the garden is beneath us. Kweku took a deep breath. So we dig. No, Ya said. We look for the natural opening. Burials of this scale always have an entrance built into stone. Kweku blinked. Stone? Here. She pointed to the base of the baobab, where roots twisted over something unnaturally rigid. Help me clear this. They dug around the roots. Workers joined in silently. Soon, they uncovered a slab, smooth, cold stone, completely out of place in a rural Ghanaian farm. Kweku knelt beside it. What is this? A door, Ya said, sealed thousands of years ago. The chief murmured a prayer under his breath. Ya wiped dust from the slab. Your father chipped at this, she said. See the marks? He tried to open it. Kweku swallowed. Did he succeed? No, she said, but he was close. She tapped the slab. It echoed faintly. Hollow. There's a tunnel beneath, she whispered. A chamber. And whatever lies inside is the reason these men attacked. Days of fear, confusion, and chaos condensed into one moment. Kweku stood. "We open it," he said. The workers hesitated. The chief shook his head. "Breaking sacred ground is forbidden." Kweku looked at him, voice steady. "Sacred ground is already being violated. They dug holes. They burned the barn. They kidnapped my mother. The enemy is already inside." Silence. Then the chief sighed, defeated. "Do it." They brought tools, hoes, pickaxes, metal bars. They struck the slab at its edges. Dust rose. The stone resisted. Hours passed. Sweat soaked their clothes. Ya examined every line, every crack, guiding them where to strike. Then, finally, a piece chipped away. A sharp gust of cool air burst upward. Kweku stepped back as the ground trembled beneath them. The slab cracked further. A piece broke off completely, sliding into darkness. A gap opened, just wide enough to fit a person. The air smelled ancient. Dry. Untouched. Ya's voice trembled slightly. "This is it." Kweku picked up a lantern. "I'm going in first." The chief grabbed his arm. "No. If something happens." "No, Kweku interrupted. This started because of my father. And they're targeting me. I'm going." He lowered himself into the gap, feet finding stone steps beneath. The lantern illuminated a narrow passage carved by hands long gone. The walls were decorated with strange markings, spirals, animals, weapons. Ya followed behind him. The chief, Amma, and two brave workers joined. The descent was steep. Each step echoed. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. Kweku whispered, "Dad, what were you hiding down here?" At the bottom, the passage opened into a wide chamber. Their lantern light revealed dozens, maybe hundreds, of carved stone niches along the walls. Inside each niche lay metallic fragments. Weapons, arrowheads, spears, blades, but their shapes were unlike anything modern. Among Gaspit, are those human bones? Some niches contained skeletal remains, resting beside their weapons. Ya stepped forward reverently. This is a royal burial corridor. Warrior kings buried with their metallurgy. One worker trembled. "We should not be here." Ya shook her head. "We are not grave robbers. We are protectors now." Kweku walked deeper into the chamber. The metallic objects glowed faintly when light touched them. He picked up a dagger. The metal was smooth, humming with energy as if alive. "How is this possible?" he whispered. Ya's eyes widened. "This alloy shouldn't exist. Not with the techniques known from this era. This is revolutionary." "But why will my father hide it?" Kweku asked. "Because once the wrong people learn about it," she answered, "they will tear apart every inch of this land." A loud noise echoed down the passage. Footsteps. Many footsteps. Everyone froze. Amma whispered, "They followed us." Voices drifted into the chamber. Male voices. Armed voices. The enemy had arrived. The chief whispered, "We must hide." But Ya shook her head. "There is no exit except the entrance." Kweku lifted the ancient dagger. "Then we fight." Ya grabbed his arm. "Those men have guns. You'll die." "Then what do you suggest?" he hissed. She scanned the chamber quickly. Walls, floors, objects, before her eyes stopped on a large stone altar in the center. She rushed to it. "Help me push this," she ordered. Kweku and the workers joined. The altar shifted slightly. Beneath it, they saw a circular indentation. "What is that?" the chief whispered. "A mechanism," Ya said. "Ancient engineers often built false entrances and hidden chambers." The footsteps grew louder. Ya looked at Kweku. "Place one of the warrior blades in the center." Kweku grabbed the glowing dagger and placed it into the indentation. The chamber trembled. Dust rained down. The back wall cracked open, revealing a second passage. Ya whispered, "Run." They sprinted into the darkness just as the enemy's lanterns illuminated the first chamber. Gunshots erupted behind them. The chief shouted, "Faster!" The second passage sloped downward. The ground vibrated as bullets ricocheted off walls behind them. Kweku held his mother's photo in his pocket, every step fueled by rage and fear. They ran until the passage opened into a vast underground room supported by stone pillars. Metallic artifacts were piled everywhere. Shields, tools, weapons so advanced they looked futuristic. Ya gasped. This is the main vault. But then torchlight exploded behind them. Men in black clothing stormed into the vault, guns aimed. "Stop!" one of them shouted. Kweku turned slowly, sweat dripping down his face. The leader stepped forward. A tall, pale-skinned man with a scar across his jaw. His voice was smooth, chilling. "Mr. Asamoah," he said, "you just made my job much easier." Kweku clenched his fists. "You kidnapped my mother. You burned my farm. You killed people. Why?" The man smiled cruelly. "Because your family sits on the greatest archaeological discovery in West Africa. And unlike you, we intend to profit." Ya stepped in front of Kweku. "This land is sacred. Those artifacts belong to the ancestors." He laughed. "Ancestors don't pay in dollars." The chief growled. "If you want violence, you will get it." But the man pointed his gun at Alma. "If any of you resist, she dies first." Alma screamed as a soldier grabbed her. Kweku stepped forward, fury boiling. "Don't touch her. You are in no position to negotiate," the man said. He signaled his men to begin collecting artifacts. They shoved Ya aside and started loading pieces into metal crates. Kweku's chest burned. "Stop. Those don't belong to you." "They will soon," the leader smirked. "And you will watch." Kweku felt helpless, angry, powerless. The man walked toward him, slow and mocking. Your father almost exposed everything. He kept digging, asking questions. Fortunately, we silenced him. The words hit like a punch. "You kill my father?" "Not personally," he said, shrugging. "But I gave the order." Something snapped inside Kweku. He lunged forward with the ancient dagger still in his hand, aiming for the man's throat. The man stepped aside and struck him with the gun handle. Kweku fell to the ground, vision blurring. Ya screamed, "Amakudid." The chief shouted in defiance. The man pointed the gun at Kweku's head. "This is where your family line ends." "No," a voice whispered behind him. "This is where yours ends." Everyone turned. From the shadows of the vault, another figure emerged, someone none of them expected. It was the stranger from the burnt barn. Alive, barely standing, blood dried on his temple, his eyes cold. But he wasn't alone. He pointed a pistol directly at the leader. "You left me to die," he said. "Now I return the favor." Chaos exploded. The stranger fired. Soldiers ducked. The leader dove behind a pillar. Bullets ricocheted through the vault. Ya grabbed Kweku. "Get up." Kweku staggered to his feet as the workers rushed the soldiers with whatever they could grab. Wooden poles, metal rods, ancient shields. The vault became a battleground. In the chaos, the stranger collapsed, blood pooling around him. Alma screamed as one soldier grabbed her, but the chief rammed the soldier with a stone pillar fragment. Ya grabbed Kweku's arm. "We need to seal the entrance. If more of them come down, we're finished." They ran toward the broken mechanism near the center of the vault. Ya examined it quickly. "It's designed to collapse the entrance," she said. "Ancient protection system." "Then activate it," Kweku said. "It could trap us inside forever. Better trapped than dead." She hesitated, then inserted the dagger into a second slot. The ground began to shake violently. "Geo," the chief shouted. The vault entrance began collapsing. Dust and rocks rained from above. The remaining soldiers tried to flee, but the passage caved in, sealing them inside the chamber. One soldier tried to shoot through the falling debris, but a pillar crashed on him. The leader screamed orders from behind the rubble, now trapped. Finally, the shaking stopped. Silence. The danger was sealed behind meters of rock. Alma fell to her knees, crying in relief. Ya leaned against a pillar, breathing heavily. The chief wiped sweat from his face. Kweku stood in the center of the vault, chest rising and falling, realizing something with terrifying clarity. The enemy wasn't gone. They were just locked away temporarily. And above ground, more were waiting. He whispered, "This isn't finished." Dust slowly settled over the collapsed passage, leaving a choking stillness. The vault echoed with ragged breaths, groans of pain, the faint buzz of fear that clung to everyone like smoke. Kweku steadied himself on a pillar, feeling the weight of everything they'd survived, everything still hunting them above ground. The air underground felt different now. Heavy, watchful, as if the ancient warriors entombed here were listening. "We need to get out," Ya whispered, her voice trembling but controlled. The chief nodded. "We must climb back through the second passage before it collapses too." Kweku looked at the chamber one last time. The shimmering metals, the carved stone faces, the silent guardians of history. Then he turned away. "Let's move. Staying here is death." They ran back toward the narrow corridor. The ancient walls groaned. Stones shifted above them, raining dust. Alma nearly slipped, but Ya grabbed her hand. The chief pushed from behind, urging them to move faster. Finally, after a steep climb through the crumbling passage, they reached the initial chamber. It was half destroyed now, large chunks of ceiling scattered like bones. The air was fresher, but the danger wasn't gone. The moment they reached the slab entrance, they heard voices above ground. Not friendly ones. Engines. Boots. Men shouting commands. Kweku peered upward through the crack. Several trucks had parked near the farm. Dozens of men in black uniforms surrounded the baobab tree. The leader's voice echoed. "Find them. They're somewhere underground." Alma's hand shook. "They have more men." The chief clenched his jaw. "We cannot fight them. Not like this." Kweku's heartbeat thundered. They were trapped. The enemy wasn't just a small group. It was an organized force. Well-armed. Trained. Determined. Ya touched his shoulder. "There's only one way out. The old drainage tunnel." "What tunnel?" Kweku whispered. "The one your father mentioned in the coded notes. It's behind the stone carvings in the main chamber we passed earlier." Kweku frowned. "You mean the vent carved in the wall?" "Yes," she said. "It leads outside the farm, near the river. It's narrow, but it's our only chance." The chief spoke up. "We go now, or we die here." They rushed back into the second chamber. Ya pushed aside a carved stone plate and revealed a small circular tunnel barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Alma shook head heat fearfully. I can't. It's too tight." Kweku knelt beside her. "I know you're scared. I am too. But if you stay, they will kill you. We have to move." She swallowed, nodded, and crawled in first. The chief followed. Then Ya. Then Kweku. The tunnel was suffocatingly narrow. Darkness pressed around them. Stones scraped their shoulders. Every sound felt amplified. Their breathing, their heartbeat, the distant rumble of footsteps above. Halfway through, the tunnel vibrated. Dirt crumbled onto their backs. "Alma screaming. It's collapsing," she cried. "Keep moving." Ya shouted. The vibration grew stronger. Something heavy crashed above. The tunnel sagged. Rocks began falling. "Hurry," Kweku shouted. One stone nearly crushed his arm. He kept crawling, pushing Ya forward. The air grew cooler ahead. A faint breeze touched Kweku's face. "We're close," he whispered. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Alma emerged into blinding daylight. The chief followed. Then Ya slid out, gasping. Kweku pulled himself free just as the tunnel behind him collapsed completely. "No," Kweku said firmly. "I won't risk you. Alma liftet herchin. You've risked your life enough. Let me do this for the farm. For your father." Before he could respond, a rustle echoed behind them. They all turned abruptly. A boy emerged, Kwame, one of the youngest farm helpers, no older than 13. Tears streaked his face. "Kweku," he whispered. "They forced me to show them the kitchen entrance. I escaped, and I know how to get back in without being seen." Kweku stared at him, stunned by the boy's bravery. "You shouldn't be here," Kweku said. Kwame shook his head. "They said they'll kill everyone if they don't find you. I don't want anyone to die. Please let me help." Kweku knelt to his level. "Are you sure?" "Yes," the boy said. "Your father, he helped my family when we had nothing. Let me return the favor." Silence fell. Finally, Kweku placed a hand on Kwame's shoulder. "We move at night." But night proved too far. As they watched, the leader raised a megaphone. "Kweku Asamoah," he shouted. "We know you hear me. Come out now, and we spare the villagers. Stay hidden, and we kill them one by one." "Alma gaspit." The chief cursed under his breath. Ya's eyes widened with terror. The leader pointed his gun at one of the kneeling workers. 10 minutes, he yelled. Then we start shooting. Kweku's heart shattered. I'm going, he said immediately. Ya grabbed him. No, that's suicide. I won't let them kill innocent people, he said. This ends now. Ama vipetives. Please don't go alone. He looked at the farm, memories rising like ghosts. His childhood running through those fields, his mother's laughter in the kitchen, his father teaching him how to plant cassava, the feeling of home he had once thrown away. He swallowed hard. I'm not going alone. The chief raised his head. Then we go with you. No, Ya said. We don't run into a gun line. She scanned the ridge, thinking fast. Then she snapped her fingers. The irrigation canals. They run behind the fields, hidden from sight. Kwame nodded quickly. Yes. They reach right behind the storage shed, near the back of the house. Kweku exhaled. Then that's our path. They moved in silence, crawling through tall grass, making their way toward the canal. Mud clung to their clothes. Water splashed quietly under their feet. When they emerged behind the shed, they were close enough to hear the enemy's boots crunch on dry soil. Kweku crouched low. Kwame, show me the entrance. The boy pointed to a metal hatch half covered by leaves. Kweku opened it slowly. It led into the kitchen pantry. The boy slipped inside. Ya followed. The chief and Amma stayed behind to warn the others if danger approached. Inside the pantry, the smell of spices and smoke lingered. They crept into the living room. The journal lay on the table where Kweku had left it. He grabbed it, flipping through the pages urgently while Kwame kept watch through a crack in a window. Ya leaned over his shoulder. Look for instructions. Anything about stopping intruders. Kweku turned to a page written in hurried handwriting. Should danger rise, seal the vein gate. The mechanism is hidden in the roots. Press the Trinity mark. Ya frowned. Trinity mark? Kwame's voice shook. Someone's coming. Footsteps near the living room. Ya whispered. We can't stay here. Take the journal. Go. They ducked into a storage closet just as two soldiers entered. Search the house again, one said. The boss says they're close. The other soldier smashed furniture with his rifle. Burn the house if you have to. Kwame trembled silently between them. Ya covered his mouth gently. Kweku gripped the journal tight, praying they wouldn't open the closet. The soldiers argued, then left. Move, Ya whispered. They slipped out, crossing the field on their knees. When they reached the baobab tree, Kweku dropped to his knees and pressed his hands against the roots. The Trinity mark, he murmured. Where is it? Kwame pointed. Here. 3 small circles were engraved in the root, each barely visible. Kweku pressed them in sequence. The ground shuddered. Machines beneath the soil groaned like awakening beasts. The metallic fragments scattered across the farm vibrated violently. Soldiers stumbled, shouting as the earth beneath them began to rearrange. The leader yelled, Stop whatever they're doing. Kweku felt the vibration grow stronger. The vein gate, the mechanism controlling the underground chambers, had a defensive system. Ya whispered, It's sealing the lower tunnels permanently. But something else was happening. Metallic shards buried under soil began pulling toward the baobab tree. The land itself was shifting, closing off paths the attackers had dug. The soldiers stumbled, some falling. Trucks slid sideways. Equipment toppled. Dust exploded upward in clouds. The leader tried to shoot Kweku, but missed as the ground buckled beneath him. Kweku rose to his feet. I'm ending this, he said. He walked toward the leader, who was struggling to stand. You, the man spat. You coward. Face me. Kweku didn't flinch. You came to steal from the dead. You hurt my mother. You killed my father. The leader aimed his gun. But before he could pull the trigger, the ground beneath him collapsed slightly, causing his shot to veer off. Ya threw a stone that hit the gun from his hand. Amma shouted for the villagers to rise. The chief stepped forward with a group of furious villagers. The leader looked around. He had no allies left. His men were fleeing. Trucks were sinking into soft soil. The entire farm had turned against him. He lunged at Kweku with a knife. Kweku dodged and struck him with the journal. The leader stumbled. The chief slammed him with a stick, sending him crashing to the ground. The villagers tied him up with rope, restraining him despite his screams. Police sirens echoed in the distance. Kwame had secretly called them with Ya's phone. Kweku knelt and exhaled deeply. The land was silent again. Not peaceful, but no longer screaming. Later, as the police escorted the attackers away, the villagers gathered around Kweku. His mother approached, tears running down her cheeks. "You saved us," she whispered. "No," he said softly. "We saved each other." Ya smiled faintly. "Your father would be proud." Kweku looked at the baobab tree, the guardian of the buried warriors, and felt something settle in his chest. Purpose, responsibility, legacy. The farm would be rebuilt, the burial chambers sealed forever, the village protected, and the Asamoah family's duty restored. As the sun set over the fields, coloring the land gold, Kweku stood at the center of the farm, not as a billionaire, not as a runaway son, but as the protector the land had chosen. He turned to the camera of the documentary crew you had called to help preserve the truth and said, "If you made it this far into the story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Stories like this deserve to be heard, and your support helps us continue exposing truths hidden beneath the soil of our world." He looked back at the baobab tree. "And remember, some gardens grow above ground, but the most powerful ones grow beneath us."